All right. Well, thanks everyone. Thanks for joining. I'm excited about this webinar, excited about having Aaron present this. As you probably know, Golden Shovel's really been at the forefront and really took some early leaps into some unknowns with virtual reality about 4 to 5 years ago. And the virtual reality world has really started to come on. It's coming on in many different spaces and industries. And now we're seeing with the phrase, the metaverse, and companies heading into it, what that virtual space may or may not look like. And really it becomes an opportunity for communities to take their physical location and bring that to the world in different ways and communication methods. So I'm excited to talk about that. The one thing that I would say before I turn this on to Aaron, a lot of communities who talk to me about virtual reality, the metaverse, they have this hint of a question when they ask it. Is this thing really going to be real? Is this opportunity really out there? And the way I would say that, and the way I would put this in front of you is virtual reality in the metaverse is here. It's coming. And it's not really a question of if anymore, but a question of when and preparing for that. It feels a little bit science fiction like. It feels a little bit like it's out there in this other realm. But the reality is, if you look at the numbers and the amount of VR goggles that were pushed out in this last holiday season, and you're starting to see people move to this space. And with the pandemic that we've gone through almost on 3 years now, people are embracing the opportunities that are coming in the online space, and virtual reality is certainly one of them. So this is a very timely presentation. I'd like to introduce my colleague who really has been on the forefront of this, Aaron Bressois, the CEO of Golden Shovel. And so Aaron, understanding the metaverse and how to prepare your community, take it away. Welcome to have you.
All right, thanks so much, Ron. Let's do this. Hey, thanks for joining today. Called the metaverse. It's been a pretty exciting topic, to say the least. I'd have to say that as of September, metaverse really wasn't a word in our vocabulary. As Ron had mentioned, and as many of you know, Golden Shovel's been working on virtual reality for quite some time, all the way back from the fall of 2017. And I've been to many conferences talking on this topic that, you know, someday we're all going to be using virtual reality to do economic development work. The metaverse is the dawn of this reality. And so today, what my intentions are, we've been doing tons of research. Everything that we've been doing in the VR, frankly, has been leading up to this. And we'll talk about what the metaverse is, where it came from, what are some of the thoughts and ideas behind it, the companies that are behind it. And we've been doing just tons of research on where exactly that's going to go. And then we'll talk a little bit about economic development and where the metaverse should play a role for economic developers. And then particularly the end of this presentation will be things that you can do now to prepare for both having available to use in the metaverse as it unveils itself, as well as things that you can use those same tools right now to perform economic development, particularly during a pandemic. So let's get started. And the first time metaverse became a common buzzword across technology was the end of October, or I say early October, when this guy, Mark Zuckerberg, gave about an hour and a half long presentation, which I recommend watching on YouTube, about the change of their name. They changed their entire company name from Facebook to Meta. And the reason that they're switching it to Meta is because Mark believes that the metaverse is the future of the internet. It's going to be where we work, where we play, where we find entertainment, and frankly, particularly with the working from home and all of that, that this is going to be a way for us to stay even more connected than ever. And so he changed this is, I think, the third largest company in the world, changed its name to Meta to get ahead of the metaverse. So Meta is now an umbrella company. All of their other apps like what are there? Some of them, Facebook and Instagram and some of the others. Those are all still retaining their brands, but Meta is now the focus, and they're putting tens of billions of dollars into the development of his vision of the metaverse. But believe it or not, Metaverse he didn't coin the term metaverse. It didn't come from October. It actually came back from this guy back in 1992. Neil Stephenson, he's a very famous New York Times bestselling science fiction writer. He wrote this book, Snow Crash. And not only is this book about the metaverse, where the character in it is in the future. The world is pretty dystopian at this point, but the character goes into a metaverse where half of the book and novel takes place inside the metaverse, and the other half of it is in reality, and they're going back and forth between the two. And he also, interestingly enough, coined the term avatar, which is now a common term inside virtual reality for the character that represents you. Highly recommend it. 1992. And what's important about 1992 is if you think about the people today that are running these companies like Mark Zuckerberg and the Elon Musks of the world, these other tech leaders, they were influenced by this book. This was the beginning of what was considered the cyberpunk era in 92. And it was very, very popular. And it became inspiration for all sorts of ideas that are now presenting themselves today. So that's where the metaverse first came out. You also may have seen a version of it if you had read the book or saw the Steven Spielberg film Ready Player One. Also near future, dystopian, and the people are spending half their time in the metaverse where they are trying to uncover the keys to unlock the power of it. And they got the corporations fighting for it and the whole works. Excellent book, excellent movie. So this just came out a couple of years ago and also very influenced by Snow Crash. So this is an idea that's been floating and influencing people for quite some time. And now they're going to build it out. And so I think the best way to explain what exactly is a metaverse is going back to the actual dictionary definition. And it is a virtual reality space in which users can interact with a computer-generated environment and other users. And this is something that a Golden Shovel has been building and developing, and it unveiled this year. And I'll share some of that a little later on in the presentation. But that gives you an idea what it is. Now, when I say virtual reality space, that doesn't necessarily just mean virtual reality goggles. It's both virtual reality space as well as augmented reality space. And augmented reality being glasses or goggles that you can see the real world in and project virtual 3D objects and experiences into. So is it real, or is this just a buzzword and just a trend? And I'm going to make a case for that this is way more than just a trend. And this is because the people that are developing it are significant. The amount of money that's going into it is a lot. And let me just show you a few examples of these. Disney patents metaverse technology for theme parks that will attract visitors while projecting personalized 3D images for them. So Disney's building a metaverse. I think it'd be important to note that the metaverse itself isn't a single thing. So it's not like there's going to be necessarily one metaverse and everybody is going to be utilizing that specific one. There's definitely going to be ones that are stronger and more powerful. There's going to be ones that take the lead as far as attracting users for various reasons. But I don't know if this is the proper term, but there are going to be multiple metaverses, and some of them will be very industry specific, which is what we're really focused on. Others are going to be more generalized and for broader audiences, particularly around gaming and entertainment. Disney sees the application. Can you imagine putting on augmented reality glasses and being able to walk through a theme park and see the animated characters running around, and they know your name and they interact with you. It's going to be amazing, I'm sure. Now, note that this article is from January 9th, 2022. So that's how fresh this stuff is being unveiled. In South Korea, Seoul is the first city to enter the metaverse. They are creating a massive metaverse all around their city, and it has different aspects and ideas behind that. I believe it's both for entertainment, they're doing things for business, but they're making a metaverse version of Seoul. How that plays out, I guess we'll wait to see. In some cases, there's people working on trying to make digital twins of reality. So you'd, in the same way that you'd have, reality, you'd make a digital version of that would mimic it and apply it that way. But the metaverse isn't certainly limited to that type of piece. The metaverse itself can be anything and can be whatever someone's imagination is up to. And so it'll be interesting to see how they did, but they've made a very loud statement. They've putting lots of money behind it in the effort to be the first to enter the metaverse. It's not just communities and theme parks. One of the main focuses of the metaverse early on, because of the number of users, is going to be in retail and in sales, certainly consumer products. Samsung just opened up their latest store, and they did not open that up in a physical location. It is in the metaverse, in a metaverse called Decentraland, and that is their 837th store. And you're going to be able to walk into that store, look at their products, learn about Samsung's offerings, and ultimately purchase products either digitally or physically through the metaverse. And I'll touch on a little bit about what Decentraland is in a moment. So here's a little idea. This is from December 20th, 2021. This article out of Forbes. Now this is part of the buzz for sure. Investors are scrambling, but it's considered to be a $1 trillion revenue opportunity. And people are looking to invest in a variety of ways. Some of the investment that's going into the metaverse is through cryptocurrencies, which is a technology that I'm sure you're all aware of and heard of, that has been expanding over the last handful of years particularly. And those become real monies that get used to be able to purchase products and services inside the metaverse. And different metaverses, if that's, or metaversi, the different metaverses use different types of cryptos. They have their own kind of economies, if you will, using those cryptocurrencies and blockchain technology to track. So in a way, you'll be able to purchase something in a metaverse, and there might be, and sometimes it might be a physical thing that then gets sent to your house, such as say like an Amazon, but also the ability to purchase a digital asset, which is uniquely yours and is owned by a contract that's supported through crypto and blockchain. So $1 trillion revenue opportunity is definitely something to not shake a stick at. And it's be interesting, especially from the economic development perspective, of the types of companies that are going to grow and rise up in here, and where those companies are actually going to locate. Certainly there's going to be people behind them. Those people are going to be in our communities. I'd be curious to see if those people are going to be centralized at all in certain specific cities, where maybe there'll be a metaverse capital of the world, or if they're going to be all remote workers scattered across the globe and their office will truly be in the metaverse, in which case it'll be us economic developers trying to attract remote workers that are doing very well in the metaverse situation. Here's a big picture, and I can share this presentation with you guys. I got it both in a PDF and the video will be recorded. I got links at the bottom of these, so you can follow up and take a look at these articles yourself. Here's currently, this is as of November 2021, all of the companies that are developing the metaverse right now. And there are different companies doing different types of things. There's ones creating experiences, which is certainly where Golden Shovel and Place VR is in. We're creating a metaverse experience for economic development. Down that there's groups working on discovery, There's the decentralizing focus, which is the idea that the metaverse isn't going to be sitting on one giant computer. It's going to be running across, many different servers, just as the internet is. There's some that are just focusing on creating content. That's another area that we focus on. There's the spatial computing area, which is the companies that are making the software for creating the apps and the tools inside of it. So for example, our Place VR meetings application, we use Unity to develop in that. And so there's people working in that area. And I just want to point out just a couple, other than the infrastructure, of course, there's graphics cards, there's all of the servers, and then all of the hardware developers, which are the human interface side, so there's a lot of players, a lot of money, but just the very, very biggest players are committed to this. We're talking Meta now instead of Facebook. We got Samsung, which is making a major play. Microsoft is committed to be heavily invested. There's groups like Roblox, which are just massive companies, as well as a whole variety of game companies that have already had a lot of experience working in multiplayer and user games, where there's a lot of people in the same kind of game and have a lot of 3D graphics. This is my case for why this isn't something just to shake stick at. This is going to be something huge, and it's coming down the pipeline pretty quick. Two of the ones that have been in the news an awful lot recently, just to mention them, is the Sandbox and Decentraland. Interestingly enough, now these aren't necessarily aligned right now with business in any particular way. They're in, like the Sandbox case, it's considered a game experience engine. You can go to concerts and watch a concert of a famous person performing. You can go and create different experiences that people can use. And they use a currency called Sand to participate in those. And so you might pay a fee to buy a ticket to that concert using your Sand, or go into a experience that somebody set up to play for a game, for example. But it's huge, and it's spread out over flat land where there's these little parcels where you can develop your thing, but you have to purchase those parcels. And right now, and Decentraland is a similar. Now, Sandbox has kind of got this blocky animated look to it. Decentraland is more kind of an animated cartoon looking avatars. But this isn't for kids. And I say that, for example, in Decentraland, I should say, it is absolutely, I mean, kids will be participating in this, but this isn't for that. It's not that, it's expensive to get involved. So let's put an example, like right now, to buy a piece of land, a single block of land in Decentraland at its lowest cost is about $11,000. And that's just to be able to get in and build stuff. And so there's actual virtual real estate that's being sold. Some of this real estate is sold for over $1 million for parcels, which is pretty interesting. And those are particularly focused around consumer products, where people can make stores to sell stuff. Now, some of these metaverses right now, ultimately, they're going to be all accessible, whether it's the one that Facebook's putting together, or Meta is putting together, or Sandbox, or Decentraland, or the things that we've been working on are accessible through, or will be all accessible through VR. These guys right now, curiously, are not yet accessible through VR. They're accessible through just laptops. So PCs, in some cases, PCs and Macs. Some of them you can do, I believe, on tablets and computers, but they're not VR ready. That is coming. In this example, over on the left is a friend of mine, Todd Brinkman, out of San Diego. He's been working with the chamber, the East County Chamber in San Diego, and showed me a glimpse of some metaverse that his group, Main Street, VR for Main Street, put together. With a Rhino XR, and they built out a chamber model. And now this is a very advanced, visually appealing look. And so I wanted to get an idea of how realistic these avatars are going to become as they keep going on. And you can see in that avatar right there, even the textures on the sweater and the whole, like, being able to go through, and this is an example of a chamber where you could be able to have events and go in there. Right now, the restrictions on that is it's a little difficult to get into these types of systems. You need to have certain types of gear. You have to be plugged into a PC. It doesn't quite work on Macs yet. And you have to have the right hardware to be able to participate as far as headsets and the like. But those things are going to go away. That's not going to be long, especially with the pace of change before. These are just going to get better and better, and it's going to make it easier and easier for us to interact with the metaverse. And it's exciting to see what Todd's been working on. Over on the right side, this is from the Silicon Valley virtual reality meetups that I was a member of and participating in just a year and a half ago, just pre-COVID. Gosh, Jesus, probably 2 years now. And then this gentleman's the head of the group, and he had a avatar made for himself that involved having your picture taken with 150 cameras. And here he is standing next to his actual avatar, which is being run by a different person that's wearing his avatar. And you can see him standing there next to it, and just how realistic it actually is going to be, and how much this will simulate our own selves if we want. And so just like it's going to work in virtual reality, it's also going to involve and be included with augmented reality. And so it's just a couple of examples. On the left is using the Microsoft HoloLens, where that guy is interacting with another person who is, it looks almost like a hologram straight out of Star Wars, like Princess Leia style. And he's interacting with them, and you'll be able to have your coworkers come and be sitting there next to you, even though they might be across the country. That's all an aspect and part of what the metaverse is promising. Over on the right is an example of a language learning app, Mondly, that I was using myself. This is an augmented reality lady that's teaching me Spanish in my office. And you can see her, it's really kind of eerie. In this case, I was using it through an iPad. And you can see her, and she would sit there and correct me and tell me how bad my Spanish was. But kind of get the idea. It's going to have this feeling of introducing virtual people, real people that are going to be able to be there and interact with you. Pretty exciting. Mark Zuckerberg's vision, if you watch the videos about all sorts of different things, whether it's hanging out with friends, watching shows, doing exercise and having your personal trainer there working through with you. And all you're doing is wearing these augmented reality glasses. We're expecting to see many of these glasses being launched as of this year. And in the next couple of years, you're going to see just tons of different types of hardware. One of the most anticipated ones coming out is the Apple's headset. Sounds like it's going to come out sometime probably halfway through the year, and it's going to have what's called mixed reality. It could be either virtual reality, where you're completely engulfed in the technology or immersed in it, or in augmented reality, where it combines it with what you can see in the space around you. That'd be really exciting to see. As Ron had mentioned at the beginning, the Quest 2 is the main headset that we've been focusing on, mainly because it just has a really good price point. It's at $299, which is for what you get in that technology. I'm convinced they're losing money on each headset for that price, but they're, as we saw, incredibly invested in making this happen. And so there were record sales of that technology, and that's what we've been using with economic development groups for doing site tours and FAM tours. So getting into some of the areas that we've been exploring up to now, this was the very first VR video that we had made. This is actually up in the Duluth region. That's Greg Wassmansdorf from Newmark Knight Frank. He's putting on a PlayStation 4 headset. Now in 2017, there was no wireless VR headsets, so everything was wired. So this is actually connected right into a PlayStation 4. He advised us on some of the types of things that the site consultants would like to see when they're taking a tour. And we were able to, this is him checking it out after all of that, to be able to take a look and look around. And I remember after he had that whole experience and he took off the headset, and the first thing he said was, "Feel like I've been there." And we were all like, yes, that was the goal. So, and here's an example of the Quest 2, which how far this technology has already come. This is completely wireless. It's lightweight. It gives you 2 controllers, so you feel like you've got 2 hands. And even since this was launched, this company has launched all sorts of new abilities, including the ability just to use the cameras that are on the outside to make sure you're not running into stuff, to track your hands. And now they're coming up with new ways to be able to even mimic your facial expressions. You're going to be able to wear types of gloves that allow you to feel things inside the metaverse, like if you're holding an object, for example, or hot or cold. And but right now already it's coming off a long way. And if you haven't had an opportunity to experience a Quest 2, I'd say it's well worth the investment. Especially with COVID. One of the things we've been doing with our clients is putting all of these types of 360 videos and having the virtual meeting apps on these Quest 2s, and then they're able to send them out to prospects. But more and more people are getting their own. They're having their own systems, and that's what we really want. Sending them out is sending them out to people it's an option, but it certainly requires a lot of time and sending stuff back and forth. So the more that they get adopted and people get their own headsets, and as the metaverse unfolds, we're going to see vastly increased participation. So why do all of that? And I think the main reason is you have this feeling of presence. So ultimately, this technology is all about connecting people together. If anything, the world of video games and the world of digital social media and the whole like has been keeping us connected in one way or another. And I'll say for the better, for the worse. And I don't say that as far as the metaverse, I'm sure there's going to be certainly ways it can go wrong. And so our hope is that we'll stay optimistic and focus on the things that improve our lives. But one of the things that it offers, VR, is that you have this 3D sound, and you have this 3D sound being that you can tell spatially where a sound is coming from. So if you have a colleague, for example, sitting at the table across from you, it sounds like they're sitting across from you. If they're over here talking on the right side of you, it comes from your right ear. And as much as that that visually it feels immersed in 3D, having the audio be immersive is just totally creates this feeling of presence, and it tricks your brain into really feeling like you're there. And even though it's virtual reality, as far as your brain's concerned, it's a real experience, and it can have the same impacts as real experiences. So with economic developers, frankly, we're going to be doing a lot of the same stuff that we're doing now. We're going to be giving tours of our communities. We're going to be highlighting our workforce and trying to bring in new talent and attract remote workers. We're going to be giving tours of our physical sites in the interest of moving these companies so that they can manufacture products and services in our communities. And so what we've been focusing on now, I don't think there's going to be a massive deviation. There's not going to be, maybe there'll be a metaverse economic developer that's developing in a specific metaverse somewhere, but that's not the focus of our industry and what we're doing. We're trying to grow our communities. And so we're really going to be doing the same tasks. We're just going to be doing it in a greater and in different ways. I think of this moment in time a lot like when websites started. I am old enough to have seen the dawn of the internet, and pretty much my entire professional life have been involved with building websites. And that started, I think the first website was built back in '96. And as we've watched this unveil and get introduced into the professional world, I remember when they first came out, they were more or less like digital brochures. And there was a lot of skepticism about, especially with businesses, like why exactly do we need a web page? What is that about? And now, all these years later, the websites are at the center of economic development communication, particularly around getting data and selling our story and sending our messages out. And so keep that in mind, that the metaverse is going to have a very similar path. Like at first you can be like, wait a minute, what is that? Is that just a fad? Do we really need that? And there's going to be a time, certainly in our vision and not just our vision, where just in the exact same way that you have a economic development website, you'll have your economic development metaverse space. You'll have your office, if you will. So you have a nice place to bring in site consultants, business prospects, and prospective workforce to be able to show them your physical community through the virtual space. And in a lot of ways, we've built this already, and I'll be sharing the ways that you can utilize that today. Some of the different types of products that can be brought into the metaverse, you're not going to want to necessarily just create a 3D model of your community. That's never going to have the same kind of effect as really showcasing it and showing it off. It'd be interesting to see what a digital Seoul might look like with South Korea, but it's never going to replace visiting Seoul. And that's going to be the same type of situation for us showcasing our communities. We're still going to be dealing with our actual physical locations and coming up with tools for how to really present them in the best way and give people experiences of those locations if they're not there in person. And so this is Greg Cole-Bjornsson. He's our executive producer of Place VR for our 360 videos. And there's a couple examples of some of the cameras and some of the different scenarios that we've been using these videos. And one moment. And with the videos themselves, we found is not only can you use them in a metaverse setting inside a virtual meeting space, but they're actually very, very useful both as website content, bringing them, particularly, we've had a lot of success with organizations that are bringing them to trade shows. So they bring them to an industry show. This example over here is York County presenting it to a consultant in at a ag food show. We've had people bring them to France to the aerospace shows. We've had them shown out in Israel. There's the industry show is a great way, especially if you have a booth, so that if somebody comes to visit and they're not likely going to be in your community, especially if you're a rural community or a medium-sized community, and you can't show it to them, this is a way to be able to show all of that off and take advantage of those videos. I think now would be a good opportunity to, let me show you, I'm going to stop this screen sharing for a second. Let me pull up a example of some of these different types of videos. We have a little 3-minute clip I'm just going to share with you guys. Okay, here we go. Turn the sound off. So I'm going to show you 4 different types of videos that we've been doing. Now, most of these are going to be around familiarization tours. So first of all, immersive 360. So I imagine many of you are familiar with this, but the idea is that you're completely immersed in a spherical video. So no matter where you look, it feels like you're there. Trick of the brain plays out. And these are just clips of all sorts of different shots. We've probably worked on projects around the country. You can see everything from, this was actually a safety related video, all these different industries going into leading employers and showing off what they're doing, showing off the beauty of these various communities for the support of bringing in workforce attraction and prospects. Really, really cool. And you can see there's a lot of motion in these. We're able to take these cameras some pretty unusual places. Greg has found himself, this is not Greg skiing down the ski slope, but everything from skis to drones to the whole works. These are, this is bringing some of the 360 video and traditional video for that matter onto drones. So we can take people places that you couldn't possibly take them on a normal fam tour unless you were going to get a helicopter, and be able to show people their communities from up high. And probably have seen some drone footage and drone video out there, but it's a really neat experience with the 360 cameras and making them immersive also. So it's kind of interesting tool set. In the interest of the augmented reality, we've been taking these 360 videos, in some of these cases where you just have a site full of soybeans or a bunch of gravel, and bringing 3D visions of the potential of these sites and showing it, so you can combine the magic and feeling of being there with the VR, with a vision of what it could look like, especially when courting developers or business prospects. And for the sites that have existing facilities, we've been incorporating these 3D facility tours. And this is using a technology called Matterport. It allows you to basically walk through a whole building, taking 360 photos every 10 feet, and it turns all of the photos together into a giant 3D model that's so accurate that you can actually make measurements to figure out how you want to use it. So here's another example. Yep.
I'll give you a second to catch your breath. We had one question so far from the participants, and the question is, what the participant asked is, so if I understand this correctly, virtual reality videos can take the place of a familiarization tour and become more of a selling point, as opposed to being very forefront of the metaverse. Is that a fair statement?
Yes. Yep. Absolutely. You can. So, and especially with just in general, I mean, we got to kind of accept the fact that the times have changed. I don't think we're going to see fam tours picked up the same way that they used to be. And also familiarization tours are expensive. You're flying people in, you're wining and dining, and I don't think the virtual is going to completely replace getting people to come in person, but boy, it can sure save a lot of time, energy, and money to be able to showcase a place. And if it's a good fit, they'll come in person. Ultimately, you still want the groundbreaking ceremony, and these tools exist right now and can be used to provide fam tours either by themselves, where somebody could watch a video and get their own little fam tour, or with others, which I'll show in a minute, on how you can actually interact and engage physically, virtually with prospects.
And Aaron, just a follow up, and I think you touched it on your answer, but the follow up from the participant was, so virtual reality videos and fam tours aren't taking the place of physical; they're actually supplementing and bringing people in, and still highlighting the need to come into the physical space.
That's right. Yep. Great question. And that's absolutely right. It's like, ultimately, the goal is still to get somebody to come visit. These are just way more powerful ways to entice that to happen. And once again, saving everybody time and money, both in travel, and I guess as of now, in safety because of the COVID and all of that, but really getting a better sense of what you're going to experience when you get there. And so that way, as you and I know, Ron, the more somebody spends time with understanding and learning about your community and products in your community, the more likely they are to move their business there. And these types of tools give an even deeper understanding of what to expect. And so that makes for less surprises, so to say, when they finally decide to make that move, and gives them more confidence before they break ground. But ultimately, they're going to come visit, and you want them to come visit so they can do that.
And one last thing, just one other quick question that just popped in. So another participant noted that many of the businesses that they're trying to attract are already in the metaverse, and they're already looking at these spaces. And it seems that communities who are slow to get into that space, they're going to miss out on those early interests from communities that are already looking for cutting edge. Would you say that's true?
Absolutely. Yep, absolutely. And there's a lot of economic development organizations that are participating in doing this type of thing now. This isn't, once again, we started in 2017, so this isn't brand new. What is new is the actual investment and interest and focus on building out what will be the metaverses that will probably spend a fair amount of our time in.
Yeah, and I think the point to that is a lot of the clients that I talk to, when they come to the realization that, if you're not on the metaverse, that doesn't mean the rest of the world isn't. So you're just not there; they're already there. So don't find yourself in that myopic thinking of, well, we shouldn't go there because nobody's there. The reverse is true. We have to start getting to the places where people are and showing our communities off in their venue.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. And so here you guys just saw some of this, how you can take, this is actually in Eastern Kentucky, and make those buildings appear looking quite realistic. Some of the Matterport. You can see that was an example of that 3D model of the dollhouse feel, so people can walk through it. This is both really useful just online via the website, as well as inside VR, where it actually feels like you're walking through the space. But then the next thing I'm going to show, I'm going to stop the sharing and share with you our vision of the metaverse, and something we've been working on now for a couple of years. A huge investment from Golden Shovel and our Place VR division. Let me pull this up. So our vision, having all of the communities spread out over the land and put across the globe, and having a sporadic, like someone has to still go to that same location or spot or city on some kind of virtual land spatially, like Sandbox or Decentraland was doing, is more of an experience that ties in with what site consultants are experiencing now. So if you're a site consultant and you've been invited to a community to do a FAM tour, the first thing you're going to do is travel to that community, and you are going to go to the office of the economic development organization. You're likely to meet the people. That becomes the base of operations, and from there, you bring that site consultant out to various sites to check out. You might bring them out to wine and dine them a little bit to show them what the culture is like. You might bring them to a sports game. So what we're looking to do is to make it as natural as possible from the metaverse perspective to what we're already doing professionally. And so in our vision, now this is I should say beyond a vision, this actually exists right now. Now I wouldn't say this is it certainly by definition is a metaverse experience. And so we are once again doing lots of research on how this is developing out between these other companies, so that we can stay on top of it all and bring the best technology to the table for economic development. But here you go into a lobby of a skyscraper. So imagine an office building, just like a site consultant might do, and you'd give them you'd have a suite number. And so you might have a number. I'm going to play this. And what we've been focusing on is stripping out all of the stuff that we don't think is necessary as of now for a real tour to be given. I mean, at this point, not everybody's versed in the technology, and we were trying to get over the technological hurdles. And so instead of walking around a big, huge environment, we've made it really simple. We have a virtual conference table, and inside that table, you can locate that in any spot in your community. So in this case, there's my colleagues. This is located in one East Kentucky, in northeastern Oregon. That's a lake that was part of one of their 360 videos they shot. And here's the virtual conference table. I'm the host right now. I'm sitting in a little notch on the table. And I can talk to them in 3D sound. And so what we wanted to do, instead of spending a lot of time designing an avatar and doing all this stuff that might be fun for larger experiences, and down the road, we'll get more into that when people are used to it. We focus on just what's the quickest way to have a presence, have some hands. We upload a photo from LinkedIn or something into the mask of our avatars, so that it is uniquely you, but other than that, it's the quickest possible way to get into a tour. Now, I just brought these guys into a 360 video, and I'm showing them that site. And as you saw, it just did that whole switch from a gravel pit. This is an old mine in Kentucky, and it converted into the 3D model. Now that train in the back over there, that's a real train. That was part of the video. So the 3D model is sitting in front of it. Now we just moved locations. We are right next to the train. And this train, since this site, they're proposing a rail spur. We were able to make a 3D model train that's coming in. It's actually wrapped with the service that would actually service this particular site and give somebody a perspective of what that might look like. And so that train that was blue, that's a 3D model. And oh, look, it just disappeared. So that's definitely a 3D model. But it gives you an idea of how to bring that augmented reality into these virtual spaces to create a vision. And then beyond showing off sites of that way, if you're going to have a full meeting with somebody, you're going to want to be able to pull up slides, be able to perhaps give a PowerPoint of sorts. We have the ability to put PDFs into here so we can click through and give some slides. Look at that. It's almost like a meta presentation of what I'm doing right now. This video is being recorded from my colleague's perspective, and so that's me. You can see my faces in the mask there. So we want to be able to provide. You could come to this site. You could put this conference table in whatever location you want, and from there be able to, like, look, here's in New York, Nebraska. This is a logistics site that they're proposing. That's a 3D model that's half visualized, but wouldn't it be cool to bring someone directly on the site you're talking about and to be able to give some data, give some slides about it, and then bring them on a little 360 video tour and show some visions of what could happen. And if let's go to the next site, then this happens to be downtown London in this case.
Say, Aaron.
Yeah.
I know you had mentioned York, Nebraska, and I saw that Lisa Hurley was in the presentation today. So I just wanted to make sure I gave a shout out. York and Lisa has been one of the early adopters and actually influencers in this space, and just has done some amazing things in development of the VR as well as presentation, and has won a number of IEDC awards for efforts they've done. So I just want to make sure we gave a shout out to Lisa and York, as well as to remind people that really this is about any community. I mean, there is no size restrictions. The only restrictions to what you're doing in economic development, virtual reality, is what you can come up with and think about, because you can make it happen. So just wanted to make sure we got that pointed out. Lisa, you've done a great job, and you've gone into areas that I don't think other economic developers thought you could go, but you're doing just great work.
Yeah, absolutely. Lisa did a whole host of videos, both for sites, as well as a familiarization tour, and as well as even recruitment videos for the university and the like, and was the winner of Nebraska Economic Developer of the Year. So congratulations, Lisa, on that this last year. So last thing I want to show you inside this Place VR app is we also have the ability to pull in some 3D models. And so if you're already going to have models made, in this case, it's a 3D projection off of Google Earth of a particular site. And so beyond just being able to bring people to it, to have your meeting, to bring them through the video, to give your presentation, you could then pull that site up right on a map in front of you and discuss it to have a really meaningful and immersive experience. Expressive site tour. Okay, well,
all right, well,
almost done.
We are almost done. I just want to remind the participants that we want to make sure if you have any questions that you haven't already asked or has been answered in the chat, now is a good time to do that before we wrap this up in about 5 or 10 minutes. But Aaron, I'll let you head us to wrap up and see if any questions come in.
Yeah, I'm all wrapped up. I just wanted to note we did this is a little dated now. It's about a year and a half, I believe, old. We're updating a new version of this, but feel free to download our ebook, which just highlights 5 5 of our clients and some case studies on the VR that they've been using. And I just want to note, speaking of it being a little bit dated, on the right there in the VR helmet is Amanda Jenkins, who was an economic developer, one of our clients, and is now working with Golden Shovel and is one of our excellent gatekeeper reps. And so must have been pretty influenced by the VR experience to join us. So she's been really great to have on the team. And I'll just leave it at that. It can feel free as my contact information. And Ron, let's just open it up for questions. See if there's any other further questions for me to answer.
So from one of the panelists, what's the biggest obstacle and what's the process for creating content?
Right now, I think, let's start with the process for creating content. So if you're going to create content, it's really done similarly to how you might, once again, design a tour. You think about how you would show somebody a site or how you would show somebody your community. What are the things you would focus on? Where would you take them to give them that really cool experience? And then taking that and what, if you're doing, say, a 360 video or a Matterport tour where you're going to walk through a building and make a 3D model, we send out Greg and his team to be able to capture those shots. We use our writers to put together scripts to make and to identify all the locations we're going to shoot. Usually to do a full fam tour takes about 3 days. And to capture all the shots, it's usually on average 30 locations. And then we come back and put that together into the video, which is both functional as a standalone video as well as can be integrated into and shown through the virtual Place VR Meetings app. Some of the hurdles that we found, initially the hurdles were hardware related. Before the Quest 2, there was the Oculus Go, and it had sometimes it would overheat or the battery would run out too quickly. So that's been that's changed since then. The Quest 2 is a phenomenal piece of equipment in comparison and has much longer battery life and can much faster visuals in the whole works. So you can have better meetings. We've seen a little bit of hesitation because of COVID, where somebody doesn't necessarily want to just take somebody else's goggles and strap them on their face. So they have to take into consideration making sure that they're sterilized and cleaned and be able to give that kind of confidence. But that's going to be a moot point in a year or so as these headsets grow, because everybody's going to have their own headset, and so that won't even be an issue anymore. So I would just leave it at that. I mean, there's a little bit of technical, just learning it or having that first experience, but
There you go, Aaron. I think your internet paused for just a second. So one of the other questions: what's the process for creating the content? And then follow up on that, what are your thoughts about capturing areas that are unattracted or blighted? Here's what I would say on that. One of the reasons we have brought Greg on and his team, they're professionals. These aren't just folks that are going around with a camera or an iPhone and shooting video. These are professional videos with professional backgrounds in editing and really that high quality commercial video. And the reason I bring that up is because when you talk about how you make your area look the best it can visually, that's what Greg and his team do. They have the eye for that. We want to be honest with communities that are undeveloped and maybe not as attractive as they could be if they're developed, but we want to be able to bring that potential out, which is why we do things like the Matterport and so forth, is showing people how you can take an undeveloped piece of land, because something that's unattractive or blighted in my mind is just undeveloped. It hasn't reached its potential yet. So using the power of VR and Matterport and other ones, you can show developers how they take something from a no potential to a potential piece of development land. So that's why we bring in the high quality commercial video people, and they're gonna bring that out versus just somebody who's showing something, snapping a picture, which is way different than taking something through the visual production model and bringing the potential out.
Yep, absolutely.
Other questions? I would say that those that have questions, download our ebooks, take some time and see what can happen there. And then feel free to get a hold of our team. We're happy to walk you through or introduce you to communities that are already doing this, so you can walk through what it takes to get your community on with this and how you can make that happen. That's what we're here for. We want to do best practices, and we want to make sure that people are really comfortable how they can put the best VR video and the best experience in front of their audience that they can. Aaron, did you have any closing comments?
No, well, yes. My closing comments are, this is, first of all, thanks for coming and listening in. This is really exciting for us. When we started virtual reality work back in 2017, we knew it was going to be exciting. We knew it was going to be big. We knew we were way ahead of our time as far, because it wasn't something that was in the industry at the time. But boy, have we learned so much. And to see that the metaverse is being built out and adopted by the biggest companies on the planet is just incredibly exciting. It is where we had hoped and dreamed this would all lead to and go towards. And our commitment to our clients is to be at the forefront of this and to determine what is the best use cases for economic development, so that we can support the industry as it takes this new turn into the future. So thank you so much.